The 25th Hour Radio Show. All right, Chris, let's start off like we always do on the show. You know, I've been a fan of Fangoria magazine ever since I was a kid. And you being the editor-in-chief, you know, I thought it would be really cool to speak with you. So if you don't mind, could you give us a little background on what led you to becoming a part of the Fangoria team? I mean, how did you first get involved?
Well, I guess, you know, this is a long story because, like you, I guess I consider first getting involved simply perusing the magazine racks one day. I guess I was searching for comic books first and foremost, and ended up finding this. I think what issue was issue number 27, perhaps, with Tom Savini's Grand Illusions book on the front. And I remember picking it up and going, "Whoa, what the hell is this?" I was reading horror comics, but this was something completely new. And I opened up the gatefold Scream Grades poster, and there was the woman from My Bloody Valentine falling out of a dryer with all her skin removed, and it melted my mind. But I kept leafing through it, and inside the magazine was, pictures of Savini doing all these effects, like creating these monsters and painting rubber and doing all these amazing things. And it was a little bit above my head at that time, but I still knew I was looking at the wizard behind the curtain and looking at stories about the men who made these monsters. And it was fascinating. So from that point on, it was horror films all the time, dark fantasy, science fiction, and my Bible was Fangoria magazine. So how I got directly involved was, very strange. I was writing for, various ways, and I was ingrained in the entertainment industry as a younger man in my 20s, and one day discovered a Canadian horror magazine called RUE MORGUE, because I'm in Canada, I'm in Toronto. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of Canada's Fangoria. And I was reading this thing, and my mind was blown that this thing existed, and I contacted the publisher and started writing for them. I had my own column. I spearheaded their radio show, and was with them for about, 10 years, something like that, before I left and started freelancing for Fangoria. And then in the middle of all that freelancing and various things, having my first kids, and life was insane. One day, I just got a call out of the blue from the publisher, who was, I guess, liked my writing and liked my energy and liked my resourcefulness, and was looking to make a little bit of a personnel shift. The previous editor, Tony Timpone, the legendary Tony Timpone, had been there for 25 years, and wanted a bit of new blood, and simply right on the spot asked me if I'd be interested, which of course I was, and that was 6 years ago, and I've been the editor-in-chief ever since.
So how would you explain the magazine to those who are completely unaware about it?
Well, I think, I backed up to what I was saying earlier, the wizard behind the curtain. I think that's the foundation of it all, is that, cinema is the ultimate magic trick. It is the grand illusion. It's cheating time and space, and it's creating alternate universes that are basically, the way I see it anyways, is that more than any other liberal art, film represents, first of all the liberal arts, but I think film is our biggest key as a species to our immortality. I mean, as long as this planet keeps spinning, film, I think, stands as one of the strongest documents of our culture, of our politics, of our of everything that we are as a species. So, but there's a lot of mystery around film. I know as a kid, all the people involved in these films, it's like they were beamed in from another planet. There's no way I'd ever meet these people. There's no way that I'd ever learn their secrets or have discussions with them about anything. And of course, the older you get, the smaller the world gets, and the impossible becomes possible. And what Fangoria has long done for 36 years is, again, provide this in-depth look behind the scenes at the magic of cinema, specifically dark, sometimes violent, fantastical cinema. Special effects, and not just special effects. I've changed the magazine quite a bit. But just, again, dark dreamers from around the world making these mad movies and really getting inside their skulls and seeing how it all works, and really getting kind of a back pages film history lesson, really, in the process.
Not everyone's into horror films and quote, unquote scary movies like you are, like I am, and millions of other people. So I'm curious to know, have you had instances when you've met people that kind of looked at you sideways when you explained what you did? Or what you do?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. But what happens with horror is, throw it into the whole geek culture thing. Well, they're calling it geek culture. I have thoughts about that whole terminology. But the guys that love Star Trek, the guys that love comic books. you like Star Trek, you like comic books, people are going to look at you and then think, oh, okay, look at that guy. I don't know. But you like horror movies, suddenly you're a bit dangerous. To the obviously you're not, but there's this kind of aura of, well, this person must be perhaps unstable, or there must be some screws loose, or why are they fixated on death? And, if you're a horror movie fan and you're sophisticated of thought somewhat, you're not violent, you're not horrible, you're not evil, but you're fascinated by those very real elements of the human condition. Yeah, it's true, we are all going to die. We try to fake that, and we try to, kind of forget the fact that we are mortal and our time here is very finite, and that we will die, and that most of us, many of us will probably die, unfortunately, violently in some way, against our will. We leave this earth as we come in, kicking and screaming. And horror movies are really just a kind of a mirror into that, and are really, if anything else, really, therapeutic to help massage a lot of those fears. But if you walk around and you say, I love these horror movies, and I love, this movie with this, remember that scene where the guy's guts got ripped out, and the general public will look at you a bit askance. And horror movie fans really kind of like that. I know I always did. I was the guy in the bus, big briefcase full of comic books and horror movie magazines, and the guys were fascinated by me. The girls were also fascinated with me. It was a great way to meet girls because they thought you were this unusual alien-like creature, and they were fascinated by you. So, I mean, horror movies are kind of like punk rock. They're kind of anti-establishment and strange, and they go against the grain of the norm. And if you're a real hardcore fan of this stuff, you're totally fine with being perceived like that. I think, especially growing up, I know I was.
I was watching a YouTube video of you a few days ago, and you were discussing why you decided to bring back Fangoria's sister magazine, Gorezone. And you mentioned horror film fans are like hoarders. They have to have something in their hands to hang on the walls, etc. What's some of the things you have on your walls or in your collection that that you're most proud of?
It's funny. That's a great question. It's a timely one because I've always been a collector of things. I love, and I organize. I say hoarders, but it's not like an episode of Hoarders where you go in there and there's fetid fly-filled pizza boxes and things like that. These are, we're organized hoarders. So we like to collect. We like to display. I know for me, Netflix, that just doesn't cut the mustard. I love my movies, and I have to have the hard copy films. I still have all my VHSs from childhood. And I need them all in there at my fingertips. I need to hold this. I need to open the sensuality of opening the case and picking up the piece of plastic and inserting it, the drama and the tension of inserting it into some sort of player and waiting and navigating menus or whatever it's just the way it's got to be for me. It's the closest imitation to going to a cinema is to at least be able to have some kind of drama behind the scenes before you watch the movie. Anyways, on my walls you typically would find select toys still in boxes. You would find every Fangoria magazine I've ever done, which at this point nears 100 in my 6-year tenure there. You would find posters of films. You would find rare stills. You would find signed things that, I've met every one of my heroes at least once, which is an amazing thing to say, but it's true. I have pictures of me with them and different milestones of printed things that I've done. And, I'm 40 years old, but I think I've lived a fairly interesting life so far, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But that said, I also have 3 children, and the more children you have, the more stuff you accumulate, and the less space you have.
Absolutely, I know all too well.
I think it was like a few weeks ago, I just suddenly snapped and said, what the hell am I doing with all these toys on my wall? The kids come down all the time and go, can I have that, can I have that, can I have that? And I was, well, when I'm dead. At one point when they were young, they were just like, well, Dad, are you going to die now or what? We want this stuff. They totally didn't understand. And then I'm like, well, this is plastic. It's not, and I just totally stripped my walls and gave the kids, 90% of my action figures and everything else. And they're having a blast with this stuff. It's a great time. We liquidated a lot of my comic books. Now they have them in their room. And so my office now is, parts of it are insane, and some parts are actually relatively mature. It's very strange what's going on in my life right now. But I still am that organized hoarder, and I still am someone who needs the sensuality of things and to look at bright, garish colors. And maybe I'm also looking for a little bit something a little more calm now in my middle age.
Now in your later years.
Yes.
Other than the Fangoria gig, you're also a filmmaker. Is that something that you've always wanted to do as far as you can remember, or did that idea come along later in life for you?
Well, to me, it's, you hear this from a lot of, I'm a great fan of Nicolas Cage, and I am a huge fan of Nicolas Cage with no irony whatsoever, because I find him to be one of those fascinating performers in the history of performance. I don't think he's a great actor all the time. I just think he's a great physical presence, and you find him in the strangest places. And anyways, I started up at one point a friendship with him, and we'd have some interesting conversations about art and his philosophies about how everything is music. And if you watch one of his performances, you're not just watching him do line readings and trying to be the next Brando. You're actually watching him do a kind of jazz riff. So with him, he's always thinking about music. And that goes for writers. I think the best writers have some understanding of music. I think everything is music. Everything. All the performing arts are music. You have to have that understanding of rhythm and timing and notes and where they go and how to manipulate your audience. Anyways, that's me meandering off in a jazz way into another zone. But back to what you were asking me. To me, my films are, if you've seen any of my films, they're almost completely driven by my own music that I've made. And as a young kid, I've always been very attuned to the relationship between image and sound. And my writing, too, if kind of anyone who's actually followed my writing knows that I use words kind of like notes. Sometimes I invent words, just to throw them in there to give things some rhythm. So it's hard to say if being a filmmaker is what I always wanted to be, or being a writer is always what I wanted to be, or being a musician is always what I wanted to be. I know that I've wanted to communicate my love of weird stuff my whole life, and in a musical way. And it just so happens that cinema, I think, again, encapsulates all those things, that literature, music, visuals, movements, everything. And I've kind of fallen into that, making these low-budget, kind of strange, esoteric horror films. And they've got enough of a following that a pretty high-profile filmmaker, we're not announcing for another couple of weeks, but very high-profile filmmaker who's now based in Hollywood, saw these films, two of the films anyways, and is now producing my next movie. So that's something I'm really seriously going to start exploring this year, and probably ongoing.
Well, how many films have you made so far?
Three features. Yeah, 3 features in like 2-3 years, actually. All distributed, all very, very low budget, and all examples of my obsession with doing everything myself. These are movies I wrote, directed, scored, cut, shot. The last one I shot, it was a completely experimental film. I shot completely on 2 iPhones in a motel room, really, and a forest. I mean, with some special effects and sexuality and whatever. But it's 100% my vision. So yeah, 3 movies, and I also score movies. So there's several films that I've done features and shorts that I've done music for as well.
So real quick, going back to the magazine, it's been around now for 35 years, still going strong. Is there any major plans coming up in the future involving the magazine? Any changes? Any big announcements?
It's Fangoria is an amazing thing. This is a quick anecdote I'll tell as quickly as possible, but it's not easy. I'm not going to lie. It's not all strawberries and orgasms. I don't think it ever was, but as you know, the whole world of media has shifted. Nobody knows what the value of a film is. Nobody knows what the value of the printed word is anymore. People are not as inclined to spend, money buying a magazine as they were 20 years ago, because now, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Everything's free on the internet. And so that's been our greatest threat. And the only thing that's kept us really going is that, again, exploiting or tapping into the collector's mentality and trying to make something that's beautiful and interesting that people want to collect. Give them something that they need in their hands. But it's not easy making this magazine. So in many respects, Fangoria, even though 36 years going, never missed a magazine, still running Gorezone and the various other one-shot magazines, in many respects, we're in this kind of limbo, this survival mode. I mean, really. We it's a struggle. We have a very small team. Every month is a struggle. some days you, like any kind of war, you feel like you can't go on. And then something amazing will happen to remind you why you do go on. And the other day it was a very simple thing. I had rented a car a few weeks ago, and a small pebble had hit the windshield and cracked parts of the windshield. So I owed a few dollars on that. I hadn't settled it. So finally I called them up a couple days ago, the rental company, and I gave them my credit card number, and I said, let's settle this up. And we went through all the preambles on the phone, and finally, and the guy was very stern, asked at the end for my email address, and it's chris@fangoria.com. And he stopped and said, Fangoria? So, well, like the magazine? I said, yeah. He goes, oh my God. He goes, oh man, I was raised on that magazine. I love that magazine.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Fango fan. I go, me too. He goes, what is your involvement with the magazine? So I'm the editor. He said, no way. He's like suddenly he turns into this 12-year-old kid who
Awesome.
Thinks that somehow he's got a call from Santa Claus on the phone or something, and he's losing his mind. And so we make it through the end of this call, but now he's like this nervous guy talking to me. And at the end of it, he's just stammering. He says, just thank you, man. Thank you for settling this claim. Thank you. And hey, man. I'm like, yeah. He says, long live Fangoria. Yeah, I agree, man. You hang up the phone and you're like, well, that's what it's all about. The reach that this magazine has, the dreams that this magazine has sparked and continues to spark, and the meaning that the legacy of this magazine is. I'm just a caretaker. I've only been doing it 6 years. I won't be doing it forever. Someone else is going to take it over, and someone else is going to keep it going on. But it's important that it goes on. And so, as far as the future of the magazine, I don't think there will ever not be a Fangoria magazine in some way, shape, or form, as long as the planet keeps spinning. I don't know what form it will be in, but I know that we've come this far. There's no way we're going to close up shop. There's no way.
So where can people go as far as social media, website, to get more information about Fangoria or anything else Chris Alexander is involved with?
Well, Fangoria, first and foremost, it's an amazing thing. We have a great web editor named Ken Hanley who runs the website. And the website is, in some respects, a companion to the magazine, but it's entirely its own thing. It's an online magazine, and so I'm really proud of what Ken's doing and with that website. So go to Fangoria.com. There you'll be able to subscribe to the magazine, get all the updates going on in the printed version that I run. But you'll also get a great day-to-day, all your horror news and all your weird genre film updates will be at Fangoria.com. So definitely check that out. And if you're interested in all the little side things that I do outside of the Fangoria universe, you can go to chris-alexander.ca.
Well, Chris, man, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your afternoon and joining me on the show. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I wish you nothing but the best moving forward in life, and good luck with the magazine and the films.
That's awesome, and same deal, and thanks for giving me the platform to talk about all this crap. I really appreciate it. Have a great time. Have a great night.
You too, man. The 25th Hour Radio Show.